Harper Audio presents The Flight by Dan Hampton. Read by John Pruden. Author's Note. Charles Augustus Lindbergh was a complicated man, and in later years, certainly a controversial one. The Flight is a detailed account of his extraordinary 1927 flight from Long Island to Paris, an achievement that captured the world's attention like few other events in history and made Lindbergh perhaps the most celebrated man of his time. Pertinent aspects of Lindbergh's childhood, character, and later years are touched upon when they serve to explain the man as we see him in 1927, but this work is not a judgment of the balance of his life. My purpose in these pages is to put the reader into the cockpit of the Spirit of St. Louis during those 33.5 hours on May 20th and 21st, 1927, and to fly along with him. No other book about this man and this flight has been written from the cockpit point of view by a fellow aviator with the desire to have us all share his triumph, to be there as the frontier of aviation is changed forever. After coming to know Charles Lindbergh through his family recollections, personal artifacts, and most of all through his own writings, I learned that much of what I'd been taught was incorrect, or at best, incomplete. He was neither naive nor simplistic, although in some ways he was an innocent. Lindbergh made mistakes, both personal and professional, yet who among us has not? Who among us, being thrust into instant wealth and global celebrity, would react better? Fame overwhelmed him, and, though he learned to eventually take credit for his remarkable accomplishment, publicity was a curse he never quite overcame. His loss of privacy, as well as to some degree the loss of himself, is something that should have been expected from such a feat, but Lindbergh never considered how success would change his life, or what it would cost. His name became immortal, and his fortune immense. Yet was it worth the price? This is a question with no answer, at least not one we can give. The tragedy of losing a child is something no parent should have to bear, and surely this would not have occurred had he not been Charles Lindbergh. He would also not have incurred the wrath of a president, and all the ramifications that came back to him. If he had not been an eminent public figure, would his politics, comments, and opinions have been amplified and distorted as they were? Very likely not. I mention these events so the intelligent listener is aware that they exist, and is aware that this book is not blind adulation, but an account of one very human man and his extraordinary flight across the Atlantic Ocean. Regardless of what judgments are passed on Lindbergh, no one can dispute the raw courage and skill he showed the world in May 1927. Others had attempted this most dangerous of exploits and failed, and many passed into relative oblivion. Lindbergh's epic flight brought him fame, fortune, love, and tragedy. Someone else, a Richard Byrd or Clarence Chamberlain perhaps, could have accomplished the flight first, but Charles Lindbergh was the one who did it. In the end, he took the chance, risked everything, and prevailed. In writing this book, I was incalculably aided by the man himself, for having Lindbergh's own thoughts and observations with me was irreplaceable. All first-person quotes, including internal dialogue, are drawn from Lindbergh's own recollections. He was a meticulous note-taker, and his papers are wonderfully preserved in the Yale University Library in New Haven, Connecticut, and the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis. Most of the thoughts and expressions in the text will be found in Lindbergh's 1953 Spirit of St. Louis, but his wartime journals was also exceptionally detailed. Perhaps the best place to start with Lindbergh himself is with the posthumously published Autobiography of Values. His writing had fully matured, and even accounting for the benefit of hindsight, his prose is clear, personal, and illuminating. There are other fine books on the subject, notably A. Scott Berg's Lindbergh, though Berg devotes a mere 9 pages to the flight itself. As for the descriptions of the vistas and terrain he overflew, particularly Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and the European.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?